Welcome and God bless, crypto fam. In today's show, crypto analyst issues a warning for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and altcoins after Bitcoin crashes, or crushes, I should say, $21,000. I'll be breaking this down for you. Also in today's show, breaking news, former FTX US President lashes out at Insecure SBF in a 49-part Twitter thread rant. That's right, Harrison said that Bankman-Fried threatened to fire him on the spot and would destroy his professional reputation if he continued to confront the former FTX CEO. Also in today's show, Grayscale replies to the SEC and argues that Bitcoin spot ETF denial is illogical. That's right, replying to a brief file by the SEC last month, Grayscale says that the converting of the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust into a spot Bitcoin ETF would greatly benefit traders by unlocking value and increasing investor protections. Also in today's show, Tron founder Justin Sun ready to invest $1 billion on the digital currency group assets. I'll be breaking this down for you. Also in today's show, what would happen to Bitcoin over the next 8 years? According to Michael Saylor, I'll be breaking down his latest interview. He was recently with Corey Clipson. Also in today's show, top crypto trader predicts a parabolic Bitcoin surge to a new all-time high this year and shares his target. That's right, Credible Crypto highlights that Bitcoin's in the midst of a long-term bull market and that last year's deep correction is a Part 5 wave uptrend. The popular Elliott Wave practitioner thinks that Bitcoin is now on the verge of starting its fifth wave rally en route to a new all-time high to $150,000. We'll also be taking a look at the overall crypto market. All this plus so much more in today's show. And welcome everyone just tuning in. As you can see, we got Bitcoin pumping, currently trading at around $20,900. Today is January 15th, 2023. I'm your host, JV, and this is podcast episode number 1164. Checking out the market watch. As you can see, Bitcoin up 0.65% for the day. We have Solana up 5.5%. We have Ether up 2%, while some of the alts are finally pulling back, including BNB, XRP, Polkadot, Cardano, Doge, and Litecoin. And checking out coinmarketcap.com, we can see the current crypto market cap sitting at $984 billion, just shy of that $1 trillion milestone, with $45.5 billion in volume at the past 24 hours. Current Bitcoin dominance still at 41% even, the same as yesterday, with the Ether dominance at 19.3%. And checking out the top 100 crypto gainers in the past 24 hours, FXS leading the pack up 18%, trading just shy of $8, followed by Aptos up 15%, trading at $8.59, followed by Filecoin up about 14%, trading at $4.88. Below that, we have Lido DAO in the graph. And checking out the top 100 crypto gainers for the past week, massive gains across the entire crypto market. We have FTT up a whopping 104%, APT up 126%, we got Solana up 72%, Comp up 51%, and as you can see, just overall massive gains. And checking out the Crypto Greed and Fear Index, one of my favorite indicators, shows we're currently rated a 52, which is neutral, and we haven't seen neutral in quite some time, so definitely a good indicator for the bulls. Yesterday was a 46 in fear, last week a 25 in extreme fear, and last month a 29 in fear. So there you have it. Let me know how many of you are bullish on the King Crypto as we're just getting this 2023 year kicked off and started. And then let's dive into some Bitcoin technical analysis. First, I'm going to be sharing with you a bearish perspective from an analyst who has been kind of like a perma-bear, at least as of recent, where everyone's calling for bullish moves. According to Crypto Capo, Bitcoin is still unsuccessful in breaking its most critical resistance around the $21,000 and $22,000 area. But just keep in mind, I'm doing the bearish scenario now towards the latter end of the show. I'm going to be doing the bullish scenario with a potential $150,000 target for the King Crypto, so please keep that in mind. Here, quoting him here, market is bouncing more than expected. That is a certainty. Now, is the bearish scenario invalidated? I'm going to explain why I think that new lows are still likely. Bitcoin is still testing major resistance. Weekly close will be the key, but there is no bullish confirmation yet, and he shares this chart. Capo says that the similar resistance is present in the charts of Ethereum, the total crypto market cap total, and the total altcoin market cap, which is others. He doubles down on the bearish price targets for all instruments, including $600 for ETH. Quoting him here, this is also clear on ETH. total and others. How many of you think we can see a potential Ethereum target of $600? Let me know in the comments. Now, here's some other of the charts which he had to share. The trader veteran also sees a weakness in the stock market, which has mostly held a directional correlation with cryptos over the past several years. He says the S&P 500 is forming a repetitive lower highs and predicts that this quarter's earning season doesn't turn out so well for most big companies listed in the index. As he shares here, traditional markets downtrend is intact too. SPX keeps forming lower highs all the time, and earnings session is expected to be bad. Now, Capo's chart suggests about a 22% drop in the S&P 500, which is closed on Friday at 3,999 points. Now, yesterday I asked Crypto Twitter, has Bitcoin bottomed? And the majority of you said 31.7% no, expecting lower. 42% of you said yes, 15.7 was the bottom. Then 31% of you said no, expecting lower. And 26% of you said unsure. And Plan B had a similar poll. He asked Bitcoin 20,700 is, and 40% of you said a bull trap. 33% of you said don't know, show the results, and 26% of you said the start of a new bull market. And I also want to share the most recent tweet from Plan B from 57 minutes ago, as he shares here. Bitcoin playing catch up with the S&P. S&P implied Bitcoin price $54,000. So there you have it. Pretty exciting times for crypto, to say the least, which takes us to our next story of the day. Let's discuss the latest with what is going on between the FTX and Bankman-Fried debacle, and also with their former FTX US President lashing out against him. Former FTX US President Brett Harrison has lashed out at Bankman-Fried for manipulating and threatening colleagues who proposed solutions to reorganize FTX US's management structure. Harrison shared his experiences with Bankman-Fried and FTX US on December 14th, ultimately explaining how he was hired casually over text in March of 2021 after working together at a New York-based trading firm, Jane Street, for a few years. But 6 months into Harrison's tenure at FTX US, cracks began to form between the two. He said, despite recalling Bankman-Fried to be a sensitive and intellectually curious person at first, Harrison said he saw total insecurity and intransigence in Bankman-Fried when confronted with conflict, particularly when Harrison suggested FTX US establish separate branches for its executive, developer, and legal teams, quoting him here, and this is 16 out of 49. I saw in that early conflict his total insecurity and intransigence. When his decisions were questioned, his spitefulness, and the volatility of his temperament, I realized he wasn't who I remembered. Harrison added that he wasn't sure what accounted for the dramatic change in Bankman-Fried's erratic behavior, though he suspected mental health issues have been a contributing factor. And part of the irrational behavior Harrison describes includes a series of gaslighting and manipulation tactics that Bankman-Fried used against Harrison and other colleagues in their bids to clean up FTX US corporate mess. Harrison also recalled his last attempt to fix FTX US organization issues with Bankman-Fried, claiming that he threatened to destroy my professional reputation if a formal apology wasn't received. Sounds about accurate, quoting him here. In response, I was threatened on Sam's behalf that I would be fired and Sam would destroy my professional reputation. I was instructed to formally retract what I have written and to deliver an apology to Sam that had been drafted for me. And as for the fraud charges now laid against Bankman-Fried and other FTX colleagues, Harrison said he was blinded by the firm's alleged commingling and misuse of billions of dollars of customer funds, quoting him here. I never could have guessed that underlying these kinds of issues, which I have seen at other more mature firms in my career and believe not to be as fatal to business success, was multi-billion-dollar fraud. If any of us had suspected, let alone learned the truth, we would have reported them immediately, he added. Now, Bankman-Fried was, as we all know, granted bail after posting $250 million bond guarantee and pleading not guilty to all 8 criminal charges laid against him on January 3rd. Now, Harrison stepped down as the FTX US president back on September 27th, about 5 weeks before the FTX catastrophically collapsed, where he stated that he moved into an advisory role. So there you have it. Obviously, they're going to continue to be pointing fingers and blaming each other, but Bankman-Fried being called out, I think, is a great thing, as it's time for him to take some responsibility and accountability. Let me know if you agree or disagree, and how do you feel this is likely to play out? Holla at your boy. And with that being shared, now let's discuss our next break-in story of the day, and that's what's going on between the Grayscale ETF and the SEC. Crypto hedge fund Grayscale is telling the US SEC that its denial of a Bitcoin ETF is illogical, and I agree with Grayscale. Replying to a brief filed by the SEC last month, Grayscale says that converting the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust into a spot Bitcoin ETF would greatly benefit traders by unlocking value and increasing investor protections, quoting Grayscale here. For more than 850,000 investors, converting GBTC to a spot Bitcoin ETF would unlock over $4 billion of value by providing the regulatory relief necessary for the product to simultaneously create and redeem shares, thereby enabling arbitrage to address both premiums and discounts of the shares as compared to the net asset. This conversion would also subject trading into GBTC to heighten regulatory standards and enhance investor protections. The SEC's reluctance to further bring Bitcoin into the regulatory perimeter through a spot Bitcoin ETF has been prevented the U.S. investors from gaining the Bitcoin investment exposure they both want and deserve. They make a lot of great points here. Now, Grayscale first sued the SEC in June of 2022. In an October 2022 filing, the firm alleged that the regulatory agency was displaying bias when it rejected the hedge fund's bid for a Bitcoin ETF in June. I look at it from the perspective of the investors. Is this good and in the best interest of the investors? I think so. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. In the lawsuit, Grayscale claims that the SEC's approval of other Bitcoin-related projects, such as its approval of a Bitcoin futures ETF on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, is inconsistent with its rejection of Bitcoin ETFs. And in the official court filing, Grayscale refers to the SEC's decision to grant a future Bitcoin ETF on the CME based on its level of security as illogical, because the same type of security would be needed to operate a Bitcoin ETF. Quoting them here, the order in this case is arbitrary to its core. Its central premise that the exchange's surveillance sharing agreement with the CME provides adequate protection against fraud and manipulation in the Bitcoin futures market, but not the spot market. It's illogical. Any fraud or manipulation in the spot market would necessarily affect the price of Bitcoin futures, thereby affecting the net value of the asset of an ETP, which is an exchange-traded product, holding either spot Bitcoin or future Bitcoin or Bitcoin futures, as well as the price investors pay for such an ETP's shares. So there you have it. How do you feel this is likely to wind? Much respect to Grayscale for filing a lawsuit against the SEC, but as we all know, now the SEC is clapping back and filed a lawsuit more recently against Gemini, which is an exchange owned by the Winklevoss twins, as well as DCG, which is the digital currency group. So it'll be interesting, but let me know your thoughts. Now, obviously, if we had a spot Bitcoin ETF in the US, this would be absolutely fantastic as a way to protect investors and also create more of a thriving market as it puts more trust back in the marketplace. But unfortunately, the regulators, such as Gary Gensler and the SEC, for some odd reason, they don't want any spot Bitcoin ETF anytime soon. They rather have futures ETFs, which they can manipulate, therefore, the market price, which we have been witnessing over the past couple of years. But with that being shared, now let's dive into our next story of the day and discuss $1 billion digital currency group assets, which could be acquired by Justin Sun. Well, at least that's what the headline reads. So let's break this down. The digital currency group, the parent firm of struggling crypto lender Genesis, is liquidating some of its holdings. Tron founder and Chinese crypto entrepreneur Justin Sun is prepared to invest $1 billion to acquire the network. In a recent interview with Reuters, Sun, the founder of Tron, said depending on DCG's assessment of the situation, he would be willing to spend up to $1 billion in the DCG's holdings. Now, Genesis is a part of DCG, and its clients are owed about $3 billion. The company is lending arms stock withdrawals November 16th, citing extreme market dislocation. This happened after the crypto exchange FTX filed bankruptcy, and as such, Reuters required assistance in determining Sun's financial status. DCG is a $50 billion asset management firm that is estimated to be worth $10 billion back in 2021, and current estimates places Sun's net worth anywhere from $250 million to $3 billion, depending upon the consideration given to traditional assets and cryptocurrencies. Now, recent events have seen Sun promise billions in rescue funding to the collapsed FTX, but he still needs to execute. And similarly, Sun announced support for Binance's industry recovery fund. So it seems he just wants to have his funds everywhere. Now, despite numerous requests for comment on the recent events and Sun's expressed interest, DCG remains silent. Earlier this month, Genesis, a DCG subsidiary, said it would be cutting its personnel by 30% as a result of the current economic situation. Companies associated with both Sun and DCG are facing difficulties right now. In an open letter published early 2023, Gemini co-founder and twins Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss demanded Genesis refund its $900 million debt to Gemini Earn. Cameron then intensified the public spat by requesting that DCG CEO Barry Silbert be removed from the position, and as a result, Gemini Earn, a close partner of Genesis, ceased withdrawals and formally shut down on the same day as DCG subsidiary, which later officially became defunct on January 8th. And although Silbert has tried to put some space between his company and the Genesis problems, the company is reportedly considering selling assets to cover Genesis's $3 billion debt. Genesis was one of the first companies to suffer from the FTX breakout, freezing withdrawals from its lending platform in the middle of November, and since then, it has come to light that the company considered filing for bankruptcy and hence retained restructuring advisors. Reports also suggest the company tried and failed to raise $1 billion in rescue funding, while a spokesperson for the firm said those reports were out of date and that the firm had been engaged in quite positive negotiations as recently as late November. So there you have it. Do you think Justin Sun, the co-founder or founder of Tron, will likely invest that $1 billion and own a piece of DCG in their assets? Let me know in the comments right down below. Me personally, I feel that is unlikely to unfold, but we'll see how it plays out. With that being shared, now let's break down the latest Michael Saylor interview, where he breaks down what Bitcoin will look like over the next 8 years. Let's discuss it. Saylor, the co-founder and executive chairman of American business intelligence firm MicroStrategy, the first publicly traded company to put Bitcoin on its balance sheet, has shared what he thinks will happen to the king crypto in the next 8 years while outlining how it will come into play. In this new interview, the founder and CEO of Swan Bitcoin, Corey Clipson, noted that he sees Bitcoin becoming a global store of value by 2031. Here we go. According to him, institutional adoption is one of the first drivers of the digital assets global store value status in the coming years. The Bitcoin proponent believes that institutional adoption is possible through the utterances of the United States Commodity Futures Trading Commission, as well as the SEC, and decisions by traditional financial institutions. Saylor mentions some traditional financial institutions such as BlackRock, which is the largest in the world. Another is Fidelity, that are beginning to embrace Bitcoin in recent times due to its potential, despite previously distancing themselves from the asset. The MicroStrategy co-founder cited the explosive growth of the Lightning Network as another factor that will make the digital asset a global store of value, and the Lightning Network is a Layer 2 solution built on the Bitcoin protocol to make transactions faster and cheaper. And interestingly, MicroStrategy plans to develop applications powered by the Lightning Network that can reach millions of users. Let's go. And according to Saylor, developing killer apps like Lightning wallets that move digital dollars and Bitcoin and swaps in and out of local currency will create massive demand for the asset. As he shares here, I just described this as in 1991, you had TCP IP and we had the internet, but not many people used it. And then in 94, you had Netscape browser, and now that was a killer app for the internet, and pretty soon you had 100 million people download that browser and caught fire, he said. The billionaire also notes that the macroeconomic headwinds, such as the U.S. Fed's interest rate hikes, are major factors that will help Bitcoin achieve a global store value status. Now, to tame inflation, the Fed raised the federal fund rate 7 times just last year in 2022, with more expected to happen this year. Saylor stated that inflation would decrease once the Fed reduces its interest rate hikes, which will be a marketing driver for the leading crypto. And according to the MicroStrategy executive chairman, the combo of these factors will play out against a new reality. Bitcoin is the only digital commodity. It is the only crypto asset, and there is no second best crypto asset. Let me know if you agree or disagree with the Giga Chad, Michael Saylor. And with that being shared, now let's dive in to the bullish story you've all been waiting for the day, and that's a $150,000 prediction for the King Crypto this year in 2023 before the halving. Let's break it down. Popular crypto strategist is predicting a parabolic rally for the King Crypto this year, now that Bitcoin has broken a key psychological resistance at 20 Gs. Synonymous analyst Credible Crypto tells his 335,000 Twitter followers that he believes the floor for Bitcoin of this he believes that the floor for Bitcoin in this bear market is officially in. 21.5 has been breached on the futures exchange. And spot exchanges have hit just shy of 21.5, but I have seen what I need to. It is on. The bottom is officially in my opinion. Watch 18,000s for a pullback if we get one. Let me know if you agree with the analyst that the bottom is likely in. And according to him, a move above 21.5 would signal a fresh bull market for Bitcoin that can propel the king crypto to a fresh all-time high in the coming months, quoting him here. And here we go. The next impulse has either begun or is imminent, and Bitcoin dominance is beginning to spike off the teal region as expected, expecting a mega run in dominance as Bitcoin rallies to new all-time high over the next 6 months or so. So there you have it. The strategist also says that Bitcoin's current market structure appears to be flashing September 2020 vibes when Bitcoin consolidated around 9,000 before exploding to 60,000 as he shares in these charts. It's happening again. Deja vu. Let's go. Now, Credible highlights that Bitcoin's in the midst of a long-term bull market and that last year's deep correction is part of a 5-wave uptrend. The popular Elliott Wave practitioner thinks that the king crypto is now on the verge of starting its 5th wave rally en route to a new all-time high at around $150,000 as outlined here in this chart, quoting him here, who is ready for the 5th wave to new all-time highs in 2023. Let me know if you're one of those guys. Now, Elliott Wave theory is an advanced technical analysis approach that attempts to predict future price action based on crowd psychology that tends to manifest in waves. The theory states that a bullish asset goes on a 5-wave rally where waves 1, 3, and 5 are marked by strong surges. And at this time, we have Bitcoin currently trading at around 20,900, suggesting upside potential of more than 623% for the king crypto. And now I actually want to show you a recent tweet from Plan B, which was pretty cool. He actually shared this yesterday. My 2 Satoshis on the Bitcoin price, November 2022 low of 15.5 was the bottom. Bitcoin has crossed the short-term hodler and will rise into the 2024 halving and subsequent 2025 bull market. Several on-chain signals confirm short-term hodler signal. 2024 halving will be greater than $32,000 and the 2025 bull market will be greater than $100,000. And then someone chimed in, 1 million is a bull market, 100,000 is a comfort blanket. And here's where Plan B responded. In fact, I think the bull market range will be between $100,000 and $1 million, but many people don't understand the wide margins or the volatility that creates them, so I pinned it at indeed a comfortable $100,000. So there you have it. Let me know if you agree or disagree with these bullish price predictions from Credible Crypto of $150,000 Bitcoin price for this year, or with Plan B's bullish price predictions of between $100,000 and $1 million in 2025. Holla at your boy and let me know in the comments right down below, which leads us to my favorite segment of the live show, which is the live Q&A. So let's check out some of the live chat. And I want to say I greatly appreciate each and every one of your support. Selling with Twins, welcome. Steve Hubs, we got Lazarus, happy birthday fam. Everyone wish him a happy birthday in the chat. Matthew C, always a pleasure. John Galt, welcome family. Lawrence Abramoff, I appreciate the super chat contribution as always fam. Appreciate that. Dan Drummond, always a pleasure. Good to see you. How's your weekend treating you thus far? You know what I mean? Helen, good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Steve Kingston, good to see you as well. I'm going to scroll up to the top. We have a lot in the chat, which I love. I'm going to start rattling some of these comments out loud. Steve says, the future us before us just need to step in, I guess. Washington State, new building code mandated, no gas hookups for the stoves. You kidding me? Craziness. Matthew says, there were low carbon emissions in the 1800s. I don't think we should all go back to that era to reduce a carbon footprint. There has to be a smarter way than what is being done. Lazarus says, talked to an old Marine Corps buddy for 6 hours last night. So very little sleep, a great convo. I was able to convey how Bitcoin and crypto aren't the same. And Bitcoin is the future. That's what's up. Much respect. Keep spreading the good word. Steve says, WTF, Steve, the government is why we can't have nice things. Most people blow me off, but he actually listened, riding on a high right now. Good to hear that, Lazarus. Thank you for sharing. Steve says the Fed wants a soft landing. Ha 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 ha. If they get their way, we'll have a soft landing, just like the asteroid that created the Gulf of Mexico and killed all of the dinosaurs. Hilarious. Lazarus says, got some coinage stacked, earning that bonus. Screw your banks and your garbage percentages. Amen. Dan says, before the show starts, take a second to get your coins off any of the exchanges. Appreciate the sage advice, not your keys, not your cheese, right? Lazarus says, people say to me, oh, I see the crypto is doing well, as a snarky comment. Come say that again to me in 2 years, right? I feel you. Renee predicts that one last flush out dump he sees coming. Let me know when you feel that flush out dump is likely to occur. Steve says, you're probably right, Renee, planning on it. Steve says, I'm hoping for the same. Another Steve says, we know the show is always great, so hit that like before you forget. I appreciate that. It's the greatest compliment you can do to help support the show, and especially with the YouTube algorithm. Smash the like. Make sure you turn on all notifications by smashing the bell. I greatly appreciate that, fam. 50 degrees here, and I'm in Florida. Isn't that insane? I was speaking to my brother earlier, also in Florida. He's like, dude, it's 40 degrees. I am freezing. I'm like, I can't relate, because here in Puerto Rico, it's probably 90 degrees today. I have the AC and the fan on right now. Lazarus says, in Chicago, haven't checked the temperature, but I should. Going to hit that side hustle. Gig work, baby. Get it and keep stacking them stats, fam. No, I want 70, says Steve. Lazarus, what's all the missing workers? Gig work. 70 degrees is better than 50. 50 is better than 30. Yeah, I think you got a good point. Lawrence says, been so tired lately. Always missing the live streams. Damn time zones. Well, I appreciate you tuning in live here, fam. Greatly appreciate that. Lawrence says, anyone see the price of Flare? Worst airdrop ever. Yeah, out of all the top cryptos, like Flare is the biggest loser for the top 100 cryptos for the week. I noticed that. Was hoping for 50 cents so we can stack sats and even some XRP on which it's based. Even if it is, I'd be surprised if we went under that $15,000 wick, says Matthew from last summer. The FTX fallout, in my opinion, bottom is in, unless another Black Swan event. Good morning, Seattle John. Good to see you as well. Lawrence says, come on, Gensler, do your job and sue these scammers. Right. Don't you wish the SEC actually did their job and protect the investors? Lawrence says, Matthew, fingers crossed, brother, and Genesis, this, and DCG. And again, Lawrence, I appreciate the super chat contribution. You are the man. He says it will go up when they settle, Matthew. I've actually made the most swing trading XRP, says Lawrence. Steve says a visit to Africa sounds good right now. Matthew says, I agree, Lawrence, just saying it's Bankcoin. They work with the corrupt leaders of the current corrupt system. Steve says, wow, a lot of money to invest. Lazarus says, I plan on being around for 8 years. Tough Cookie, good morning, fam. Welcome. Lawrence says, you seeing Brad Garlinghouse in photos with the ECB is both good and bad. Lazarus says bear markets make you hard. Ed Edwards says, how do you feel about this being a bear market rally? I mean, let's discuss that. I shared some of the polls. A lot of the audience of Plan B, which is a large audience as he has a couple of million Twitter followers, they believe that this is a bear trap. A lot of my audience, which is much smaller in comparison to Plan B, but a lot of them are saying that the bottom is what I shared earlier, I'm already forgetting. The bottom is not a likely in, and that they're pretty divided, in all honesty. I would say half of crypto Twitter right now is saying that the lows are in for this cycle, and then there's another part of the camp. I'd say the majority says the bottom is in at this current moment on crypto Twitter, but hey, anything can still potentially happen. We can climb all the way up to 25 or even 30,000 and still be close to $40,000 away from the all-time high. So you got to keep that in mind. It's perspective, right? So right now, the low is 15.7. Let's just hypothetically say 15 for the sake of round numbers. Hear me out. So if we're at 20,000, we're at 21 closely, but again, even numbers for the sake of even simple math. So let's say we're at 20,000 right now. The bottom is 15. We're only 5,000 away from the bottom. And how far are we currently at 20,000 away from the high? That's like, was that $49,000 away? That's $49,000 away from the high. We're only $5,000 away from the low. So I do understand the perspective of this potentially being a bear trap. I don't know if it is or not. Only time will tell. There's certain possibilities, probabilities, how things can play out. Nobody knows the future because we can't predict it. So for an analyst to come and say, I know for a fact Bitcoin is going to do X, Y, Z this month, this year, how can they be so sure? Because there's so much more uncertainty that there's so much to play out. There is possibilities and probabilities, but there is no certainty. If there was certainty, you'd probably be Satoshi Nakamoto, and you would have invented Bitcoin back in 2008 after the financial collapse, or been Hal Finney and been the first person to download the Bitcoin protocol. You know what I mean? So let's see how it plays out. We could very likely get a fake out and drop back down. Could we drop potentially lower than 15.7? Anything is possible. I think another major exchange or another black swan event would more than likely have to occur, because you also have to keep in mind that we just recovered all of the losses since the FTX fallout a couple of months back. So it shows us that, hey, we're back. But you never know, and that's why I am uncertain about the future. That's why I dollar cost average. That's why I continue to stack in sats. I know I'm a firm believer in the long-term trajectory of the King crypto, so I know I can't go wrong. I've been an investor in Bitcoin since 2017, so it's been over 5 years. This is going on my 6th year. I will be here another 6 years from now, probably preaching the same message. Keep stacking sats, and who knows if we're going to go up or down, so be prepared for all scenarios, bullish and bearish, I'd say. That's just my 2 Satoshis. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree. Matthew says, I could see a drop back to the 18-19 range, but the 12 to 13 range ain't coming unless a black swan. I agree with you on that. Lazarus says, looking at the Jordan emblem, the bulls. That's right. Where my Bitcoin bulls at? Respect. This is the brand. Jordan partnered with, what's his name? Derek Jeter. That's why you have respect with the 2, whose number 2 is Derek Jeter. Yeah, man. Good long-term accumulation range, says Steve. Cookie, good to see you as well. Smash that like. I appreciate the reminder, Helen. I heard on a pod yesterday that Bitcoin has less volatility than bonds in 2022. Think about that for a minute. That's crazy, says Matthew C. Thank you for sharing. Lazarus says some think that regulation will push Bitcoin sideways for a long time. I guess it all depends on the type of regulation. There's ill regulation, like Bankman-Fried was trying to usher in, working with the authorities. That's not the type of regulation we want that's going to stifle the industry. We want the proper regulation. We want a spot Bitcoin ETF. We're sick of the futures Bitcoin ETFs. We don't need more futures Bitcoin ETFs so that the regulators and powers that be in the market makers can continue to manipulate the markets. We want the real deal, baby, because there's nothing like the real thing, baby. Just saying. Everybody says wait for the alts as I watch them rise. Matthew says, and also when junk bonds got regulation, then did massive gains. What's going on, Bitcoin Trini? Good to see you as well. Matthew says history suggests regulation brings in money and drives the prices up. Love that gala, says Steve Kingston. Lazarus says the maxis want all other cryptos to disappear, but I also disagree with that. It's innovation. I know many won't survive, but Bitcoin and crypto are 2 different things. You make a great point. Matthew says only buy what you believe in and what you can afford to lose. Tough cookie. I dollar cost average into Bitcoin and a handful of alts I believe in every month. Dan says Capo said we were supposed to be at 12,000 early mid-November. We're at 21,000 mid-January and never sniffed 14,000 this cycle. Dude is married to a wrong idea. Peter Schiff level of haterade. I can feel you on that. Thanks for sharing your 2 Satoshis, Dan. Lazarus says, I keep buying Bitcoin, but buying alts only to increase my BTC. Matthew says, I'm between 80 to 90% Bitcoin, but the 10 to 20% I have in alts could outperform and could, not should, or will. Lawrence says, smart man Matthew, I did it leveraging the house's equity. At least it is a tax write-off also. The interest, I mean. Peter doesn't even hold that much gold, says Lawrence. I think it's like 5%. He's just a tool. I agree with you that Peter Schiff is a tool. Matthew says, I haven't traded crypto yet. I'm planning on trading this next bull cycle because it'll be long-term capital gains, lower tax rate. John Galt, 2023, says to those who are given much is expected, do something significant. Bitcoin. In Australia, our long-term capital gains is 1 year plus, says Lawrence. Pumping and dumping with ya, Matthew C, says Steve Kingston. Lazarus says, I won't hold next bull run. Lesson learned. I listened to people saying it would go to 100,000. It just went down. Take profits. Lawrence says, I realized losses to pay less tax. Also bought back the next hour, not even the next day. But I started in 2019, 2020, says Matthew, and wanted to build a long-term position before trading. Lawrence says, not bad considering you can buy work cars to offset your tax debt. Matthew says, we all have a strategy. They all sound smart, even though they are all different. That's right. I just turned 53, says Lazarus. And again, happy birthday, fam. People ask why crypto? Because I was dumb and they want me to be dumb. Crypto has educated me. I've got some empty bags to fill, says Steve. We'll keep stacking them stats, fam. They definitely try to keep us living that way, Lazarus, says Matthew. Lazarus responds, so mad they don't teach us this in school. Trying to educate my little cousins. Yeah, it's a damn shame what they do teach us in school. Basically how to remain poor, how to not question authority, how to accept the BS propaganda that you're spoon-fed. It teaches you all of that in school. Unfortunately, we don't learn about Bitcoin. We don't learn about money and all the important things in life we need to learn. So shout out to you for teaching your cousins. Steve says, what I was doing from June through December 2022, I was DCAing by selling alts and using paycheck fiat to buy more Bitcoin and ETH. Smart man, Steven, way to go. I increased my Bitcoin position by 24% with dollar cost average of 18,009. I increased my ETH position by 12% with a dollar cost average of 1,300. I also earned 6% more Bitcoin and ETH through interest. Well, way to go. Everyone smash that like, says Matthew. I appreciate that. Lawrence says, catching falling knives is fun when they are quality assets. Lazarus says, centralized education equals debt. That's right. Ed Edwards, I appreciate the $1.99 super chat contribution tremendously. So thank you. Lazarus also sent $5, says just appreciation. You're one of the first crypto people that I listened to on my crypto journey via Spotify. Well, I greatly appreciate that, fam. It means a whole lot to me. Steve says the only solid prediction is that there will be more surprises in 2023. That's right. Steven says when people say it's all a bull trap, what they are really saying is they miss near the bottom and are hoping for a pullback to buy in. I think the same. I think they're sour that they missed the bottom and now they're panicking and worried and praying to the gods for a lower price. Dale Meyer says, I'd love to be wrong, but I don't think there's even a small chance of a six-figure Bitcoin within the next few years. Well, I respect your opinion, but I highly disagree. I'm anticipating a six-figure Bitcoin. I don't potentially agree this year like Credible Crypto. I'm not that bullish, but I think by 2025 is very realistic for Bitcoin to hit a six-figure price action. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree. Lazarus says, okay, JV, did you see the UFC news? Francis Ngannou is out. He did good for Bitcoin, but the argument he came up with now is nonsense. Health insurance when you are getting paid $10 million. At least now it's John Jones versus Cyril Gane. I'm going to be watching that heavyweight bout. I can't wait for John Jones at heavyweight level, so it'll be interesting to see. Lawrence, happy birthday, Lazarus. That's right. Everyone show Lazarus some birthday love for the fam. Bubba says, Stephen Hubbs, I agree that 2023 will be full of surprises with Bitcoin in the upside. Send it. Let's go. Stephen Hubbs says, my mistake was expecting $100,000 plus in 2021. Never came, but I believe it will in this bull cycle by 2025. Same here, fam. Tough Cookie says, so sad how many are passing from coincidence. Pray. Yeah, sudden deaths. Pray to all the families out there. It is very sad to say the least. I'm absolutely following that and what's going on. Lawrence says Porsche has proof of concept hydrogen combustion engine and some truck company has a working prototype. Take that, Greta. Top G is the man. Shout out to Top G. Free Top G. Lazarus says just appreciation. Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Thank you for the super chat contributions. Sharing your show with a business associate 6 states away. Work often. Interferes with listening live for the both of us. Well, I appreciate you sharing this. Great, thank you. Just started watching your channel a few weeks ago, and it's really great. You managed to cover the entire crypto market in a half hour. Beast mode. Much love, fam. I appreciate that. Consider 2 more rate hikes, says Coin Father. Steve says SEC doesn't protect investors. You are right, JB. They would rather people gamble their Bitcoin away through leverage trading rather than investing real Bitcoin with cash-only positions. That's right. Think about it. They represent Jim Cramer. Jim Cramer represents the mainstream and the regulators. And what is he telling you to do? Sell all of your crypto the day before the biggest pump we have witnessed in a very long time. So following the mainstream will absolutely leave you absolutely broke. You feel me? Griff says we're in disbelief phase, aka suckers rally, but it's not a suckers rally. Nate says, damn, I missed it live. Sure, it was another good one. Absolutely. The good news is you can check out the replay after we wrap up here with the live chat. Need more Satoshi, says Kit Kat. We'll keep stacking them stats. Go Bitcoin, says Nate. I appreciate that. I think it'll take 6 to 12 months to top Bitcoin Trini, but I could be wrong, says Matthew C. But with that being shared, now here is the recap of what I shared with you here in today's show, which is the big finish. We discussed a lot, including crypto analysts issuing Bitcoin, Ethereum, and altcoin warning after Bitcoin taps 21,000. We also discussed the former FTX US President lashing out at insecure SBF in a 49-part Twitter thread rant. We also discussed Grayscale replying to the SEC and arguing that Bitcoin spot ETF denial is illogical. We also discussed Tron founder Justin Sun ready to invest $1 billion in the digital currency group assets. We also discussed the latest with Michael Saylor on what will happen next over the next 8 years for the King Crypto. We also discuss Grayscale replying to the SEC, of course, and top crypto trader predicting Parabolic Bitcoin surge to a new all-time high of $150,000 for this year in 2023. But where do you feel the Bitcoin price is likely to go next? Let me know in the comments. Write down